It is the eve before the 2020 election. What a roller coaster of emotions it's been. We can hardly believe we've made it this far, to be honest. And we're only just one day away from one of the most significant elections in modern history. From pandemics to peace deals and laptops to endless gaffes, we've had it all in this election cycle. And if I'm honest, I'm quite sad. It's nearly over, really. In this video, we're going to be giving our personal predictions on what will happen tomorrow, if only for the slim possibility of getting it right and looking like oracles 8 months from now when all the Democrat votes have finally been counted. This is Political, and we're presenting to you our official US election 2020 prediction. But before we get into it, listen, we've had this channel now for 2 months, just over 2 months. We've produced 65 videos in that time, and we've built a nice little community of 200 subscribers. And if you do enjoy this content, please consider joining us in our little community and subscribing, giving us a like, give us a comment down below, and we always reply to comments and love to facilitate discussion, have discussions down there. And obviously the election is over tomorrow, but that won't be the end. Things will continue, and we will continue to make videos. And, I'm really excited about what videos we might make after the election. So,
please. Just videos.
Yeah, not just videos. We've got so much planned. So please join us. Let's build this into a lovely little community where we can all be happy and enjoy YouTube content. So let's jump into it then. Here is, not filled in entirely yet, but here is my prediction. I'm going to fill in the blanks here. I just want to talk through this very quickly. Basically, the ones that I've left in the toss-up are the ones that I think will be so close. I'm just having to kind of go with my gut on it. But I think they could very well be within that sort of 1 percentage point. Everything else, I feel quite confident about, shall we say. So, of the toss-up states that I've already filled in, I'm pretty confident in Florida. I like the early voting statistics in Florida right now for Trump. I think he's doing really well with Hispanics there. I don't think the Democrats have the turnout that they have expected so far. And we still got the election day to come tomorrow, and I just don't see anything but a Republican wave there. So in Florida, I'm very confident there. I think Trump will win that. In Georgia, I think it would have been tight. I really do. I believe Trump maybe just got that support there. I do think the Democrats are going to have a lot of voters that did not vote before turning up and voting for them there. They seem to have infused some level of support, whether it's support for Biden or support against Trump. I don't know. Probably more the latter, but I do think that they have seemed to have stirred up some support there. And I think in Georgia, I think that's really going to have tightened up.
You're quite nervous about that one, aren't you, about Georgia?
I am a little bit nervous about Georgia. I just think, it's maybe the Republicans are maybe overlooking it a little bit. Look, listen, Trump did a rally there yesterday. It's not like he's forgotten about it, but I don't know, it might just be a little bit of a dark horse. I think, though, Trump, just will edge it there, but I think I had been thinking about it really for the past day or two, and I think he'll win it enough that I'm not going to put it in the too close to call kind of category, so much so to speak. So that's what I'm feeling. Texas, listen, I imagine the Democrats will narrow the gap slightly, but I don't think enough that it will be too much of a concern for Trump. And I think I think at least for now in 2020, Texas is still red, but that could change as the demographics change. And listen, we could be looking at an entirely different election map in 8 years' time or 4 years' time. But for now, that's what I'm thinking. And Ohio, Iowa, it looks good there. They're the easier of the Midwest Rust Belt type states for Trump to get. I think he's doing really well. I just think he'll definitely carry over the line there. Now, in terms of what's remaining, Nevada, listen, Trump definitely has a chance there. He could win it, but just before I get into but I think Biden has enough support there to carry it over the line. So here's of the remaining states where I think Biden will win. I think he will win Arizona. And I think he'll win it very marginally, though. I just believe that the demographics have changed significantly there, enough that it will be enough to flip the state for Biden. You've seen a lot of people coming in from places like California and coming and voting in Arizona now. And I just think he has enough support to turn him over the line there. Looking at the early voting, it is showing that, for me, there has been a bit of a swing towards the Democrats. It is hard to read into that and see much from it, but I just think there is enough there for him to actually tip that over the line in Arizona. I think Wisconsin as well, that Biden can win Wisconsin. It is a state Trump won very marginally, obviously, as he did many of the Rust Belt states. I just imagine he's maybe just got enough there, enough support to maybe just tip it over the line in this respect. I don't agree with them in Wisconsin. I just think that's what they're going to do. I think it's a bad decision for them to vote for Biden, but I just think that's what they're going to do. I don't know why they would do it, but there you go. But the good news is, I think Trump wins the remaining 3 states that I have here that would take him over the line. So my official prediction would be 284 in Michigan, Pennsylvania. I think Michigan is drastically being underpolled again. I really suspect that Trump is doing well enough there that he will win, but it will be extremely close. Same with Pennsylvania, although that is showing a tighter race in the polls. But I just look at the turnout. I mean, they've only got about 25% of people have voted early there, when in compared to Texas has already overtook the amount of total votes that they had in 2016 with early voting. Now in Pennsylvania it's something like 30%. There doesn't seem to be much enthusiasm for the Democrats there, and which is, I don't know if it's surprising. I guess they maybe know Joe Biden more than a lot of other states do because he's from there, and maybe that's why the turnout so low. I don't know, but the turnout is very low there, and I just see a big, huge, gigantic wave of Republican support tomorrow that is just going to carry Trump over the line. And it will be close, though, definitely, and that's why this election could still go either way, but this is my feeling that Trump will edge it. And the same with North Carolina. It's going to tighten up there. The Democrats have a bit more support. The Republicans have out-registered Democrats and narrowed the gap, but I think think that Biden will have a lot of new voters who didn't vote before or haven't voted necessarily, haven't registered with a party. Maybe they were registered as Democrats before, but they've only just decided to turn up now. I think he seems to have built up a little bit of support there from people who haven't voted before. That will narrow the gap slightly, but I feel still pretty confident that Trump wins it. Obviously, he could win a lot of these states by a bigger margin, but I've wanted to put them in this kind of like slight win territory because I didn't feel confident calling them one way or the other, whereas I do with the other states. And that's just because I guess there's a lot of contradicting data in a lot of them. So that is my official prediction of 284, and we're going to move on to your prediction, Connor, which is slightly different. But
slightly different, but in the more or less in the same ballpark. So I mean, if we just look at the kind of southern states, I agree with you completely on Florida. I think Florida's not even really in question. I think Georgia is more in question than Florida. But if I'm looking at Georgia and North Carolina, and I'm seeing a large, certainly Trump, no one disputes this, not even in the mainstream media, where they find very, very few good things to say about Donald Trump. But in these 2 states, Georgia and North Carolina, huge African-American population, Trump overperforming in African-American communities, I think that takes him over the line. In addition to the pre-existing support base the Republicans have there. I think the South, I think Trump sweeps the South, more or less. Texas too, yes, maybe in 10 years, as you say, we're looking at a completely different electoral map. However, I think Texas isn't going to abandon its Republican roots, at least this election. It'll be very hard to. Just in one of the areas where we do disagree, it is in Arizona and Nevada. I think Arizona goes for Trump. I think it's very close. And you're right, the demographics are changing significantly, but this is a real, true Republican state. And sure, people always mention the McCain family and how Cindy McCain supported Biden and this, that, and the other. But I think anybody else, any other Democrat candidate would sweep Arizona. But Joe Biden he's not a good candidate. If this is Obama running, Obama would go to Arizona and he would hold himself up to scrutiny and he would answer the questions and he would win people over. Joe Biden's hidden from scrutiny throughout the entire campaign. I don't think he's done enough to convince many Republicans to come over and vote for him. So I think it's going to be very close, but I think Arizona goes for Trump. I think Nevada just about goes for Biden. And the kind of story of this area, it's the Hispanic population. Huge booming support for Trump with Hispanic populations. And Nevada, okay, you have Clark County, you have Las Vegas, Democrat strongholds, but a huge Hispanic population nonetheless. And I think they'll bring it very narrow, but just not quite get it over the edge. And then looking towards the Rust Belt, we agree on, I think we both have Michigan down to win. Yeah. I certainly think Trump's going to win in Michigan. All the data's looking that way. As you say, it's been significantly underpolled, but from what we're seeing in terms of early voting numbers, in terms of turnout numbers so far, I think Michigan stays red. Wisconsin, I think, goes for Biden. And Pennsylvania, I think, goes for Biden. But all three of these states, I think, I think Michigan will be about 3% more Republican. But for most of the Rust Belt, I think it's still going to be very, very close indeed. And I just think what will happen is most people will fall back on their traditional voting style, or fall back on what they know best, and that will favor the Democrats in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So altogether, I think I'm on 274 there, or 275.
275, yeah.
75 for Trump. A lot closer than you, but more or less in the same ballpark. We mostly disagree on Pennsylvania and Arizona, don't we?
Yeah, but the thing is as well, and just obviously, I think, want to make this point because I know a lot of people think if Trump's going to win, it's going to be by a big margin. And, I totally agree that that's very much a possibility. A lot of these states, Minnesota is in play as well, I think. I mean, Trump's doing better than he did in 2016. Nevada is in play. He's polling pretty decent there, well within the margin of error. So there is the potential for him to increase on his lead from 2016. I absolutely agree. I guess maybe, I don't know, it might just be, I think both of us have... I don't know, I guess maybe we're a bit superstitious or whatever, but we don't want to kind of overstate it. I suppose I'm giving the edge to Biden, I suppose, a little bit in states that maybe I think actually Trump probably has a decent chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're making a public prediction, you're always a bit more cautious than if you're not, right? And actually, you see this in the polling companies too. If you were to ask both of us personally in private, I think, well, actually, we have talked about that, and you actually suspect that Trump will pull out a stronger victory, don't you? But when you have to sit down with the analysis, it perhaps comes out a bit different. Yeah, nothing more to say on that one. Those are the predictions. They're out there.
Those are the predictions. 284 for me, and 275 for Connor. I hope one of us is right so that we can be on Tucker Carlson in 4 years' time, where we're introduced as the guys who got it right in 2020 when everyone else got it wrong. And they'll be asking us what we think then. Will Ted Cruz carry it over the line against Hillary Clinton, who's come back surprisingly for another joint ticket with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, of course, is now his candidate. As a candidate, he is actually in 2024. He's like on Futurama, where it's just like the head in a glass jar. And then he just turns up and then he's just like, come on, man. And then that's it. And then they just roll him away on like a little tray again. But yeah, so listen, those are predictions. We could be wrong. We could be right. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. What are your official predictions for this election? We'd love to know. And I hope one of us is right. If they suspect Trump wins anyway. I hope no one's right if they think Biden wins. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.